trauma patient, so I was like freaked out.
She was one of my nurses that checked on me every morning.
From ortho. So I wanted her to share her story because it really will open your eyes and probably help you to think of patients a little bit differently. Okay?
So I have to get my notes out. I feel like I wrote a book. Okay. So first, I'd just like to say thank you that I'm honored to be here today. I'm blessed to have had wonderful doctors and nurses that help me get through what I've been through. My experience is amazing and sad and hard and difficult. Still going on with everything. I owe special gratitude to my doctors, Dr. Arguello and Dr. Foreman. They saved my life, and I could never repay them for what they've done. And Dr. Foreman and I have formed a relationship because I've had so many surgeries with him that it's almost like a friend level at this point because I see him so often. So I'll start, if you want to show the first picture. This is the vehicle I was in 2 years ago on December the 8th. It was a head-on collision. I had spent the day getting ready for my wedding. That was 2 days later. And me and my daughter had just come back from doing our fittings, final fittings for our dresses, and loaded up the car with all my wedding decorations, my wedding dress, everything, and was headed out to Canyon Lake to spend the next 2 days with my grandparents to do the final things for the wedding. As I was driving down 306, well, I dropped my daughter off, she wasn't in the car. As I was driving down 306, called my husband, or my fiance at the time, and told him that I was almost at my destination. And I remember going through a stoplight and going up a hill, and the next thing I know, I'm staring out of a shattered windshield. If you can see the car here, where the driver's seat is, where that gash is in the car, that is where the emergency brake pedal went through my driver's seat. This picture is after, of course, the jaws of life have already moved that part of the car back. So I was trapped even more than that looks like. Luckily, my ex-husband is a firefighter and a paramedic. So I knew to stay calm. I did not panic or freak out. I sat there, and the first things that I did was I touched my legs to make sure I had feeling. I wiggled my toes. And then I think I'm okay, but I can't move. So she asked if there was anybody I needed to call. And the only number that could come to my head was my ex-husband. And so I called him and told him that I had been in a horrible car wreck, that it was really bad, and I was trapped in a car. He then, he told me to stay calm and, everything, and asked some questions. And I asked him if he would call my family and my fiance and let them know. And so he did that, and I sat in that car for 45 minutes waiting to be taken out of it. And because the other driver, his chest went through the steering wheel, so he had a torn aorta. So they were working on him first. concerned, to be honest with you, about my wedding decorations in the back seat and my wedding dress in the trunk. And the lady, I call her my guardian angel, who stopped and talked to me, said, "Is there anything else I could do?" I said, "Can you please get my wedding dress out of the trunk? I'm getting married in 2 days." And so she got my wedding dress out of the trunk, and paramedics opened the back door, and the wind was blowing, and I started freaking out because there go all my decorations. I'm like, "No, stop," you know. In my mind, I was still getting married in 2 days. I didn't realize how bad, you know, my injuries were. A little while later, they did the extraction and the jaws of life, and of course, when they removed the dashboard off my legs, because the whole dash was sitting on me, that's when I started to feel pain. And I had told them my toes are going numb, and so they immediately started to take me out of the car. I remember being pulled out and being in a lot of pain. The next thing I remember is waking up in trauma. I woke up with a tube down my throat, and it scared the life out of me. I really thought right then that I was going to die, because I couldn't breathe. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I could see figures in the room, and my grandmother was next to me, and I grabbed her hand and started writing letters on her hand. And they didn't know what I was doing at first, and I told my dad said, "I think she's trying to tell us something." And so they were paying attention to what I was writing. And what I wrote was, "I'm going to die. Hurts bad. Can't breathe. Please help me." I was so scared, terrified, tears running down my cheeks. At that point, the nurse came back in and put me back under. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to have ever woken up. But I did. Over the next couple of days, I had several surgeries. I woke up 2 days later, still in ICU. I found out then that I was crushed from the waist down. My pelvis was crushed. My left leg was crushed. I had to have rods from my hips all the way down to my ankles. Both kneecaps were crushed. My right foot was crushed. It was really, really bad. And I stayed in ICU for about a week and a half. And some of the things that I recall as far as the pain goes, you know, comfortable and medicated, but I was still having pain, and they weren't listening to me. It felt like they were looking at me like, "Well, yeah, you have pain, you have broken legs and pelvis and foot and all this." But I was trying to describe a different pain. Anytime the nurses came in for me to blow in that stupid thing, it hurt so bad in my vaginal area. And I kept telling them this, there is something else wrong, and nobody would look at it. You know, I don't know if they didn't think that it was just part of the leg pains or whatever, but I couldn't move. Anytime I tried to resituate myself, it hurt. Finally, after being there for a week and a half, somebody came in and looked, and I had torn some things up in that area, and my whole vaginal area was bruised and swollen, and obviously I had, a problem. They said at that point, there was nothing really that could be done about it, that it would heal on its own. And, so I just went with that. You're the doctor, you know best. After that, I had several more surgeries after I was awake. Because the first surgery, they were just trying to stabilize me, my finger. They didn't want it to cut the main artery because it was like millimeters away from it. And they didn't even know my foot was broken until my mom came in and touched me on the foot, and I screamed. And so they brought in an x-ray machine and x-rayed my foot. The next thing I know, I was going to surgery because my foot's crushed. And Dr. Foreman has told me since then that that's probably one of the most intricate surgeries he's ever had to do, because it was so many little bones that were broken. They had to fuse my big toe together to this rod, metal plate, so I have no movement in my big toe on my right foot. Let's see. I have been given blood, all kinds of blood. I was bleeding somewhere internally. They never found out where it was or what was going on. Which in itself is scary. I know that all the procedures that they go through with doing blood, it's all pretty safe, but there's always a possibility. It's kind of weird if you've never had blood before. It's kind of weird knowing that you have somebody else's blood running through your veins. But it had to happen, so. Let's see. While I was in the hospital, I had several nurses that I really formed a bond with. And what made it so important and so much easier to get through the days was that this nurse, and I wish I could remember her name, she would come in and she would talk to me. Like I wasn't just a patient, I was a human being. And I was by myself all the time, and I didn't have my kids, and I missed my children, and she would come in and spend just that little bit of extra time to listen to me and hear what I needed to say, or, ask me, questions to try to understand what was going on with me and what she could do to help me. Because the pain medication wasn't always doing the job. And I know there's only so much you can give, but oddly enough, my tolerance for medication is crazy, and so it was a gradual process to get me where I needed to be. And some nurses, it went in one ear and right the other, and that made it really difficult because I felt like I was talking to a brick wall, and they weren't listening to me. And, well, you're just another patient, I need to get your vitals, and I'm going to go on to the next room. And I know that being in this field, and I know this from my ex-husband, that sometimes you have to put up this wall you have to close your heart off a little bit because it hurts when you lose a patient. And if you get too close to somebody and they're gone, it's hard. But to me, it seems like if you just took that little bit of extra time, wouldn't you rather have known that that person went out having had a nice conversation that day? And sometimes that's all they need. And that's all I needed, some days. And I could tell the good nurses from the bad nurses, so to speak. There were the ones that they were there because it was their job. And that's all it was to them, it was a job. And then there were the other ones who truly and honestly cared and wanted to help and took the time to listen. And, those are the ones that impacted me the most. And to be honest, I've even gone back and tried to find the two of them, but not knowing their names, it makes it very difficult. Because at that time, we didn't know if I'd ever walk again. My pelvis was so crushed that they didn't know what was going to happen. From university, I had to go to a rehab center for a week and a half. Spent Christmas in rehab with my children. And it was very difficult. I couldn't be there to be with my kids. I couldn't be Santa Claus. I couldn't do those things. I was stuck laying in a bed and could not move. And at the time, I was 35 years old and dependent on everybody else. And so it wasn't just the physical pain that I was dealing with, it was emotional pain. Because being 35 or 45, 55, having to depend on somebody to go to the bathroom, it's humiliating. I'll tell you right now. That was the most humiliating thing I've ever had to deal with. But I didn't have a choice. Get out of bed. And if none of you have ever sat on a bedpan, I dare all of you to sit on a bedpan so that you know what it feels like, because it hurts like hell. And it's uncomfortable. You still feel like you're wetting yourself. So as a patient, you're dealing with that also, And when you have a nurse that comes in, you push the button and she says, "Can I help you?" And you say, "I need to use the restroom." And it takes her 20 minutes to get there. Well, I know you have other patients, but I can't jump out of bed and go to the bathroom. And then she comes in, throws the bedpan under your rear, and doesn't make sure it's right. I can't situate myself, And so it just felt like sometimes they didn't care. And, I don't think that's fair to the patient. We're not there because we want to be. That's for sure. I didn't want to be in that situation. That's the last thing that I wanted to be doing. But I didn't have a choice. So I got over being, modest real quick. I was released from rehab on December 31st to go home. I went home New Year's Eve, and the first thing I for 2.5 weeks, no, 3 weeks after my accident, I hadn't had a shower. Nobody had offered to wash my hair. Nobody had offered to give me a sponge bath. Nobody had offered to do anything. And they didn't even realize I had a gash in the back of my head that nobody ever even noticed. I noticed it one day because my hair was gross, and I put my hand back there, and I was like, Mom, what is this? And she goes through it. I had a gash this big in the back of my head. For my first 5 days in the hospital, once I was awake, I couldn't see straight. My eyes were crooked. I didn't look normal when you look at me in the eyes. The ophthalmologist kept coming in trying to figure out what was going on. Well, if they had known I was being hit in the head by the back of the head, that's where the occipital, whatever that, the occipital, like, that affects that. But they never checked. And it should have been stitched up, which it wasn't. But, that finally eventually went away. And when I was in rehab, I begged them. I had already gone back to university for a follow-up with Dr. Foreman and Dr. Arnold. And both of them told me, you can shower as long as you keep everything covered, And so I had 2 nurses in rehab give me a shower. And I'll tell you, that was the most amazing thing I had ever felt in my life. You don't realize the things that you take for granted every day. Taking a shower, washing your hair, going to the restroom, being able to shave, clip your toenails. I mean, all these things, that I couldn't do anymore. And it was difficult, and I started seeing things in a very new light. My vision started changing in the way that I viewed life. God forbid, even right now, if one of them was out in the street and a car came, I couldn't get to them because I can't run. All of this still, but even with all of that, and, even with losing my job and, the time I spent with my kids, all of them would just crawl into bed with me and cuddle, and we'd all watch a movie because that's what we could do. And I didn't take that for granted. That's how everything played out as far as my accident. I've spent the last 2 years trying to get my strength back, trying to get my life back. I have had a total of 9 surgeries so far. I think 5 of them since I've been released from the hospital. The last surgery I had, Dr. Foreman had to remove part of my kneecap because it wasn't healing right. I'm afraid I'm going to have another surgery because it's still messed up. It's been very, very difficult. It's been a struggle, not only dealing with the pain associated with my injuries, but also my emotions. You truly have no idea what type of pain comes along with injuries like mine unless you've experienced it yourself. Being in the hospital was hard. I was alone after my family knew I was going to be okay.
when you're hospitalized for any length of time, you begin to build relationships with some of your nurses. And after being there a while, it was easy to tell which nurses were truly interested in helping you and which ones weren't. As a patient, I must say that when you're all alone, hurting physically and mentally, emotionally, it's really nice when your nurse comes in and is sincere, and he or she asks if you're doing okay. It makes a huge difference in the way the patient feels. Just to know that I wasn't really alone made me feel better. On the other hand, the nurse who's just there because they have to be there are very cold, and when I would ask for something, I felt as if I was bothering them. I felt as if I was interrupting their gossip center out at the nurse's station. And I got to the point where I didn't want to ask anymore. Sorry, I get emotional. I felt like sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning when I had to go to the bathroom, that I was that annoying patient where the nurse might think, oh gosh, here we go again with her. One thing to remember is that your patients are still people. They may be hurting because of physical injuries, but they may also be hurting on the inside. They get lonely. They need someone to chat with, if just for a few minutes. That's what separates the good from the bad. Take the time to know your patient. I know that being in the field, it's hard. You have a lot of patients. You have a lot of work to do. You have to, go from one bed to the next. But even if it's just 2 minutes of your time, it really makes a difference to the patient, and it makes them feel like, you really care, and you're there to truly help them. I'm not sure what religious beliefs all of you have, so don't take what I'm going to say personal, but I believe that God saved me that night for a reason. Many others have told me the same thing, but there have been times when I've questioned why. I've asked this because of how difficult my road has been, and it's not even over. With every surgery comes more pain, comes more scars, more rehab, and even heartache. Getting up in the morning is hard because everything is stiff, and it hurts just to move. When the weather changes, I can tell it days in advance, and I don't have cable TV. So I don't know, I don't watch the news and know there's a front coming in. 3 days ago, I told my husband, I am hurting so bad. I didn't get out of bed. I hurt so bad. Well, this is why. I hate cold weather now more than I ever have in my entire life. 2 years later, after my wreck, bathing or taking a shower sometimes feels like a job because it's difficult to do. I can't run and play with my kids. Shopping with my daughter isn't the same because I can't walk for long periods of time. I can't stand that long without having to sit down and take a break. I'm only 37 years old and have been told that it isn't feasible to think that I will ever be able to work again. That's a hard I'm still young and have a lifetime ahead of me. Since my wreck, I enrolled back in school. I'm now a licensed esthetician. It's my graduation picture. But I can only work from home because I can't get a job and work for somebody for 40 hours a week. It's not possible for me to do. I'm still dealing with the emotional pain of all of this. Sometimes it's hard to wrap my head around that this has even happened, that this happened to me. You know, you always think, oh, it'll never happen to me. You know, you always think that. And it's hard to deal with. You see, the pain doesn't just come in one form. It's so much deeper than that. It's hard for me to understand why this happened to me. I didn't deserve this. I'll tell myself, but then the little voice comes in and reminds me that God has a plan for me. So I change my thought pattern and go on about my day as best I can. I could go on and on and on about the things that are difficult, if not impossible for me to do, but I won't bore you with all of that. What I will tell you is that after being stuck in a bed on your back for almost 5 months, you realize that you take life for granted. Because in the blink of an eye, it can be gone. Because one moment I was driving, and the next I was stuck in a car. I don't even remember the impact. The man didn't have his lights on, it was dark, and he was in my lane. I remember the first time I went outside after my wreck, and it was just to transport me from University Hospital to my rehab facility. I was outside less than a minute, but oh my gosh, the smell of air and the sky, it was cold, but it felt great after being in the hospital for 3 weeks. It was just phenomenal. I never, ever, ever would have thought that would be something that I would enjoy, but I really did. Now I'm thankful for every day that I'm given, no matter how much I hurt or how bad I feel. I am a new person, and I see things with a different outlook. Nothing is as impossible as it may seem. Heck, I didn't know if I would walk, much less walk up and down stairs. It's hard and not fun, but not impossible to do. So where am I going with all of this? You may be asking. My experiences through my journey have been overall positive. Why is this? Because I had several great nurses and wonderful doctors just time to talk to make sure that I was okay, inside and out, who listened to me, and who answered my questions. Just imagine being in a hospital bed and not being able to move, and no one will tell you why. No one will explain to you what's going on in fear of upsetting you. Trust me as a patient. I felt better knowing what I was dealing with than not knowing at all. It's very scary when you don't know why you can't move or walk or go to the bathroom. Knowledge is power. And by knowing, you begin to heal. If you take one thing from what I've said today, I hope it's this. Don't forget that your patients are people. They're someone's child. patient in pain and it's too early for their meds, let them know you still have an hour. That gives them something to look forward to. Just saying, I'm sorry, it's too early, I can't give it to you right now. And then you lay in bed and you think, well, how much longer am I gonna have to wait? Knowing is power. Your mind is such a powerful thing that it can get you through that hour. That's, something that a patient can grasp, and not knowing, laying there hurting. It just, it's hard. If you can't give them medication, offer to bring them ice or heat or something until it's time, just to let them know that you understand they're in pain. An hour seems like a lifetime, but when I knew I only had to wait one more hour, I was okay. My meds have changed many times now because of my tolerance levels. My husband recently asked my pain management doctor, why does she have to take such strong meds? Like morphine. My doctor replied, well, when you've been taking these types of medications for so long, they stop working like they should. They build their tolerance to these medications. He said, for instance, she can take 2 10-3-25 Vicodins, and it does not affect her. To her, it's the equivalent of taking 2 Tylenol. But if you or I took the 2 Vicodin, we'd be both out like a light. So and he said, so that's why her meds have to be changed, otherwise they're not helping. That's when I was prescribed the morphine and Percocet, along with all the other meds that I have to be on. One would think they saw my pills every day, but I was old or something. I felt like an old person who carries a little pill bottle around for every day of the week. But it's something that I have to do now. And maybe when your patients come in there, it's something similar to that. They've had an injury, and they've been on medication for a long time, and they're hurting. And that medicine's not helping anymore. Take the time to listen to them and ask them some questions so that you can relay this to the doctor. And maybe the doctor can change their medication and, give them something else that may give them some relief. Because it's not fun sitting
I'll
there
cover
in
this side
pain.
because I think that's where the microphone is.
I can't even explain the pain without you knowing and having gone through it. Just standing here, I'm in pain. But I unfortunately had to learn how to deal with it so that I can go on with my life and, not complain about it. And, but there are days that I lay in bed all day long because it hurts too bad. I know too that there's those patients that are doctor hoppers or, they're just looking for the next fix. And I know this from personal experience because after my accident, I went to my primary care physician, which I went to him to tell him, what had happened and what was going on, and I was still in a wheelchair. And he was then prescribing me my medications, and I went in every 3 months so that he could evaluate me and do a urinalysis and all of this, to make sure that I'm taking medicines. And I went in there one day, probably, 6 months after, 7 months after I was moving around a little bit better. And one of the nurses came in and went into the reception area, and the window was open, and she said to the receptionist, how do we know she's not just one of those people who jumps from doctor to doctor to get more pain meds? How do we know that she doesn't already have a prescription being filled somewhere else? And she said this for the entire office and waiting room to hear. Talking about me, and this nurse knew nothing about me. And that was humiliating. She ended up being the nurse that took me back to my room. My doctor came in and I told my doctor, you need to talk to her. Because what she just did was, one, unethical. And two, that was rude and disrespectful. And, you know, that was just uncalled for. And if she had taken a look at my chart, she would have known. So, I know that that happens. But there are real people who truly need the medication. Without it, they couldn't go through their day. So keep that in mind, because I know it's hard, and, you know, I know that there's protocols and, you know, all of these things, you know, when it comes to medications. But to accuse somebody and just automatically assume that that's the type of person they are, it hurts. You know, especially when that's not who you are. You know, so that's something to keep in mind. He did apologize to me and told me that he would speak to his nurse. That was the visit where he referred me to my pain management doctor because my pain wasn't working anymore. So here it is in a nutshell. I've gained some new friends in the medical field. And though I will be happy when the day comes that I am told you're free from my care, I will also be sad because they are such great people, and I will miss them. Just as I miss several of the nurses from University Hospital. Believe it or not, they made such an impact on me that once I started walking again, I said I went up there to try to find them. Even so, I cannot remember their names, but they will always be with me as a positive experience that I had. I want to say a special thank you to Katrina, because we were friends before the wreck. Our daughters were best friends. And I must say that as much as I hated those 4 and 5 a.m. drop-in visits, I looked forward to seeing you. It was a familiar face. She was a friend. And she would always stay for just a few minutes to make sure I was okay. And ask if I needed anything. She took the time, and that meant a lot. And to have her smile at me and tell me how wonderful I was doing was just enough to make me feel alive again. Well, too. I actually got to where I would look forward to seeing them come in at 4 a.m. because I would look for her and her smile. And some of the male nurses were pretty cute, so I was okay with that too. But again, I'm truly honored and feel blessed to have been asked to speak here today. If any of you have questions about anything I've touched on, please let me know. Katrina has all of my contact information.